Thank you for your interest in showing support in checking out my video. I'm a new channel with a lot of video ideas on helping you get the best out of your fishing experience. So before we move on to the topic of discussion, be sure to subscribe and click the bell button for notifications. Today we will be focusing on weather and how it influences your fishing. I think a good place to start is by debunking the barometric pressure myth. The theory essentially states that barometric pressure positively influences the feeding behaviors of bass. The theory goes on to say that the dropping in air pressure causes a decrease in water pressure, which in turn causes underwater organisms to rise in the water column. Conversely, as pressure increases, organisms, particularly plankton, are forced into vegetation or other areas where larger predators have a difficult time reaching them. Barometric pressure at sea level is a force that pushes down with approximately 14.7 pounds per square inch. All organisms are accustomed to this pressure, so there is no perception of force. A 1 millibar change in pressure equates to a difference about 0.015 pounds of pressure per square inch. Over the course of a day, barometric pressure rarely shifts by more than a few millibars. Therefore, the actual change in force on any organism is minimal. Before we dive into the data, there are a few important concepts related to atmospheric pressure we should go over. First of all, there is a common misconception that cold fronts are low pressure and warm fronts are high pressure. While it is true that cooling air drops air pressure and that heating it increases pressure, there is a multitude of other factors that play into whether a particular mass of air is low or high pressure. Most notably among these aspects is that pressure regions are measured relative to other pressure regions around them. It is for this reason that it is entirely possible for a warm mass of air to be low pressure in relation to a high pressure cool mass of air and vice versa. And if this all sounds confusing, it is precisely one of the main reasons why barometric pressure is a poor overall predictor of fishing success. After weeks of slicing and dicing the data, I can confidently confirm fish are not influenced by high or low pressure, nor do catch rates significantly change even given moderate increases or decreases in pressure. Only in the most extreme cases of rapidly increasing or decreasing pressure did the bite rates seem to be negatively affected after the onset of the change. These cases are rare in the data I've collected and are usually associated with the passage of a major storm. Even in these cases, it is difficult to say with statistical certainty whether catch rates have been negatively impacted simply because fishermen tend to avoid fishing in these conditions. After a few days of looking over the data I've collected, there was only one change in pressure that proved to be a statistically significant predictor. Catch rates improved when pressure remained stable over time, or when pressure changed only slightly over time. Intuitively, this makes sense. Stable pressure is indicative of stable weather, which in turn allows fish to develop predictable feeding routines that can be mimicked by fishermen. On the whole, barometric pressure has a far lower impact on fishing than most anglers attribute it to. Fish are regularly caught across the full spectrum of normal barometric conditions. And to help you further figure this out, I left a link in the description to a website with a wealth of historic and forecasted weather data. Fish are sensitive to water temperature changes. It is for this reason that warming and cooling, particularly at certain times of the year, have a more noticeable impact on fishing rather than barometric pressure. Water temperature changes more slowly than surface air temperatures. Because of this, anglers should be mindful that even after several hours of cooling or warming air, surface water temperatures are only influenced by as much as a couple of degrees. Depending on what the targeted species are, anglers should be mostly concerned about the cooling water trends. Cooling water slows the metabolism, reducing the frequency of the need to feed and increasing the length of time required for digestion. It is because of this, water temperature has a much more significant impact on catching rates. When questioned on the matter of cloud cover and its role in catching fish, most anglers would likely hypothesize that cloud cover has a significant impact on fishing. As we've previously went over, plankton and other bait fish take advantage over predatory fish in high visibility. Having said that, you would expect to see improved catch rates on days with increased cloud cover, which reduces light levels and decreases the prey's advantage during the day. In analyzing the data, sky conditions were labeled as clear, partly cloudy, or overcast. Catch rates during each of these periods were then compared to the expected catch rates based on the frequency those sky conditions occurred. Oddly, you would find that, according to my statistical analysis, I have found it to be false, having the opposite effect. The only possible explanation that I could deduce was that the overcast sky reduced light levels, giving bass an advantage over natural prey, thus reducing the frequency of bites on artificial lures. Interestingly enough, the data paints a different picture when it comes to rain. Rain itself has no statistically significant impact on catching rates. Plenty of fish are caught in the rain, and in fact, given that the rain typically reduces the pressure to go out fishing, a compelling argument can be made that rain actually indirectly improves catch rates. Cold rain can rapidly decrease water temperature, which in turn, as mentioned before, lowers metabolic rates and thus the feeding frequency of bass. Heavy or prolonged rain can rapidly raise water levels and in reservoirs may significantly reduce visibility due to the muddy water in the lake, which can create some of the toughest conditions an angler can encounter. Compounding the situation, the increased water levels can disperse fish across a much wider area, making locating fish a far more difficult task. Typically, fish will push shallow into the new water, capitalizing on opportunistic feeding frenzies, made possible by insects and other organic materials that have become newly submerged. So yeah, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much for checking out the video. I really appreciate it, and kind of gives me like a pat on the back at the end of the day just to see a few views. But nonetheless, check out my Instagram. I have a little bit more content in terms of, giving you some tips and tricks. And, at the moment, I'm actually working on another video in the works for my YouTube channel. It's going to be about how to set up your first fishing pole and what I genuinely recommend for that kind of process. Anywho, ladies and gentlemen, thank you again. And yeah, have a good day.